Hello and welcome to Roundtable Decision. I'm your host, Wyatt Briganoff, and for today's video, I was going to first talk about Veterans Day, which is today, Monday, November 11th, as you can see here. And as we know, Veterans Day is to honor the veterans, or the soldiers who have fought in our wars in the United States, while as Memorial Day is to honor those who have died fighting our wars in the United States. And these veterans being courageous and being so courageous are what allow myself and other content creators in YouTube to make videos, or for us to just have hobbies outside of worrying about the outside or any influences that soldiers and veterans help protect us. And they are huge. And I've had several veterans inside my family, and I'm super grateful for what they have had to gone through and what they still struggle with today because of going on tours and fighting in wars, or just the general process of being involved in our protection of being the United States citizen. But I don't want to do the video particularly on Veterans Day, and I wanted to kind of branch out and do something that I haven't really done on this channel, or at least haven't done in a while. And I was going to talk about a general outside the box topic such as Star Wars. And before I get into it, any Star Wars fans that might stumble upon this video, even though I highly doubt it, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. I've never collected Star Wars toys or read the books or watched any of the cartoons that were generally popular between in-depth Star Wars lore and fans within the Star Wars community. I'm more of a general fan that has followed the Star Wars series and those general plots within the Star Wars series. But I was going to talk about the recent controversy with their new movie and what's going to be made in 2019 called the Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. But before I get into that, there was a lot of controversy within the last film, which was Star Wars: The Last Jedi, what Rian Johnson made. I've heard it pronounced both ways. And there was a lot of controversy within the film to what was being done with Luke's character. And there are several YouTube videos I have watched that talked about how Rian Johnson kind of ruined his character, but I've also watched videos that said that he was more following the general plot that J.J. Abrams, the director who made Star Wars: The Force Awakens, what was a generally liked movie, and Kathleen Kennedy, the director of Disney, or not really director, that's not her title, but really the lead supervisor with these films, I would say, because Bob Iger, who I'll talk about in a little bit here, is the third man of this video series. And what I mean by that, Bob Iger is obviously the president or CEO of Disney, and he has been involved with what this trilogy of movies when Disney bought Lucasfilm back a little while later. And I've recently heard, and I couldn't find that article, but I know that some YouTubers have talked about it before, and I'll mention those YouTubers at the end of this video so you can look at their videos and find their sources, what they came up with, if you don't trust what I'm saying. But there was a lot of talk that there was general plots between J.J. Abrams, Kathleen Kennedy, and Rian Johnson about what they were going to do with the movies, so that the three movies that are getting made, the three movies being The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and then the last one of The Rise of Skywalker, would have a general plot consistence. And that's where I'm first going to mention that I've heard a lot of articles, including this article here, that Carrie Fisher was supposed to be the original Rise of Skywalker, the lady who was going to come out and be the new Skywalker, as Luke might have died in the movie, as he did die in The Last Jedi, but a lot of people think he might come back as a Force ghost, but that's a whole separate title. So a lot of people have been theorizing that Carrie Fisher, or Leia, was supposed to be this new Rise of Skywalker that would be the big reveal within this movie, because she would be not the last Jedi, but another Jedi in the future to expand the Star Wars community and commentator. And this was the biggest reveal, was Carrie Fisher's brother, what was released in the article on Yahoo, or an interview on Yahoo, where he talked about this. But her sudden death in December 2016 brought that eventual story to an abrupt end. And that really couldn't be what they had to do, because they would have to completely CGI if they were to do it and remake or remaster scenes that you already was filmed in for the movie, and that just simply wasn't going to work. So once that kind of ended, they had to quickly think on their feet what they were going to do. And this is where I will talk about at the end of my video some YouTube videos where particularly talk about this subject more in depth, because like I said, I'm not into Star Wars lore as much as other content creators. And one person I would mention on that is Star Wars Coffee, and he's made a video called George Lucas Called In to Save the Rise of Skywalker, and some other videos about potential plot leaks for the movie. So, and of course, if you don't want to know the plot leaks, you don't have to listen to those movies, and it makes you very aware on those videos when he talks about plot leaks. But the big thing is he talked about that new storyline, what Star Wars had to think on their feet and make. And I'm going to also put in a video in the description. What was a video for The Last Jedi, where the person thought it was a good movie, and he mentioned that the story arc, the reason it was good is because it's Star Wars down on their feet well. And in short, in case you don't want to watch the video, he mentioned that by Luke dying, that was an original plot what the movie had to follow along with, because that's what the three, being Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams / Rian Johnson, and Bob Iger came up with. But the big thing, as I was wanting to talk about, was that Disney is having to remake The Rise of Skywalker, as there have been several editions, according to Doomcock and also Nerderotic, which is a channel I would suggest following what's talked about this more in depth. But in short, these rumors are that there have been 3 different cuts of the movie. You have the cut from J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy. You have the cut from Bob Iger after he watched the movie and suggested edits. And then you have the Lucas cut, the original director and the creator of Star Wars. And each of these cuts have slightly different methods of what's going to happen in the movie. And it's a reveal that in Lucas's cut, George Lucas's cut, the third reveal is more of a reveal that we don't know or is not expected. So that brings me to my next point, and again, I would recommend watching this film that the Star Wars Coffee has made, and it's not very long. It's only 11 minutes and 33 seconds if you want to hear full insight into what exactly is going on. But in short, these 3 movies all had different percentage points of what fans liked them. The first one was, I believe, 22% going off of memory. The second one was 45%, the Bob Iger's cut, and then Lucas got 88%, which is a very high B and almost A- grade. So obviously Lucas's cut of the film was generally more liked. But the problem becomes, are they bringing George Lucas fully on to re-edit or maybe even reshoot, as this article has suggested, some of the movie for a more well-received movie from general fans and Star Wars fans who follow the lore extensively and want to be pleased from the movie, because there is a lot of turmoil within the Star Wars community. And there's been several reasons for it, and I'll just name one of the reasons with General Holdo in The Last Jedi, as she was a very controversial character from within the Star Wars universe, and a lot of people thought that Disney was making this, or Lucasfilm, and I have that in quotations, made that to pander to a certain audience, more to the general audience compared to the Star Wars fans within the movie industry. So the big takeaway, what I wanted to make about this video, is that The Rise of Skywalker seems to be in reshoots, and their original plan fell into disaster after their star actress ended up dying. And instead of trying to rethink of a plot that would fit along, they rushed a plot into existence that made Rey, the new character, the new Leia in a lot of ways, be the star of the franchise, although it was not earned. And that is very controversial for what the movie industries or what The Last Jedi or what all these Disney films and Star Wars fans wanted to hear and wanted to see, because a lot of people have already talked about not wanting to see The Rise of Skywalker and that it will bomb in theaters. And these articles about it being in reshoots definitely doesn't help the effort for The Rise of Skywalker to be a successful movie. Thank you for watching, and I will link all these channels I talked about, and I highly suggest following those channels if you want more insight into what particularly is going on for more fans who follow Star Wars.